Ferrari did not just hide a new part. They hid the part that may have changed Hamilton's entire race. After 686 days without a win, Hamilton suddenly took Ferrari to victory at one of the most brutal tire circuits of the season, and the paddock immediately found the clue. A concealed rear rim system, custom vents, cooler airflow, brake heat insulation, a possible 15 degrees Celsius drop inside the rear tire, and a pressure effect worth around 1.5 pounds per square inch. That is not a detail. That is how you keep a tire alive when everyone else is overheating. Now, rivals are trying to understand whether Ferrari found a legal thermal weapon or a loophole hiding inside the wheel itself. Because if this system is legal, everyone has to copy it. If it goes too far, the governing body may have to stop it. And if Ferrari are the only team that truly understand it, the championship may have just shifted through a rim nobody was supposed to notice. Subscribe to the channel. To understand why Ferrari's rear rim system shocked the paddock, you have to start with the one thing every team fears most: a performance gain that does not look like a performance gain. Because when a team brings a new wing, everyone sees it. When the floor changes, every rival wants photographs. When the side pods are reshaped, the whole paddock starts comparing angles, shadows, and airflow ideas. But a wheel rim is different. Most people look straight past it. It does not look dramatic. It does not look like the center of a championship fight. It looks like something simple, something structural, something that just holds the tire in place and keeps the car rolling. But in modern Formula One, nothing that touches the tire is simple. And that is why Ferrari's hidden rear rim became so important. The tire is the only part of the car touching the track. Everything else, every wing, every duct, every suspension setting, every engine mode, exists to help that tire work better. If the tire is too cold, the car slides. If it is too hot, the tire begins to degrade. If the pressure rises too far, the shape changes. If the driver loses confidence in the rear, the whole lap starts falling apart. That is why temperature control matters so much. And that is why Barcelona was the perfect place for Ferrari to reveal something like this. The circuit to Barcelona-Catalunya is not gentle. It loads the tires through long corners. It builds heat. It punishes cars that cannot protect the rear tires. If a team has a tire degradation weakness, Barcelona does not hide it. Barcelona exposes it. Ferrari arrived there after months of struggling with that exact problem. Then Hamilton won. Not by surviving, by managing. That is the detail that made rival teams nervous. Because Ferrari did not just look a little faster. The car looked more stable, more consistent, and more comfortable in the second half of the race, exactly when the rear tires should have been under the most pressure. So rivals started searching. At first, the obvious suspects were the usual ones: the floor, the rear suspension, the aerodynamic package, the setup choices. Maybe Hamilton had simply found the perfect window. Maybe the track conditions had helped. Maybe Ferrari had finally connected all the pieces. But then the rim story appeared. Reports pointed to a new rear wheel rim design built with BBS Japan, focused on thermal management. Ferrari had not listed the new rims in the usual official notification of new car parts, which the source says was legally permissible under the rules. But legal does not always mean comfortable, because rivals had no warning. They did not arrive at Barcelona knowing exactly what Ferrari had brought. They did not get a clean view of the naked rear rim design. They could not instantly study it, copy it, or challenge it before the race. Ferrari had protected the detail long enough for it to matter. That is why the word hidden is so powerful here. Not hidden as in automatically illegal. Hidden as in strategically concealed. Formula One teams hide valuable ideas all the time. They cover floors. They block camera angles. They shield parts inside the garage. That is normal. But when the hidden part appears connected to a sudden race-winning improvement, the meaning changes. Now secrecy becomes suspicion, and suspicion becomes pressure. The reported Ferrari rim design was not just a normal spoke pattern. It featured custom-shaped vents and an outer ring, a layout designed to help manage heat around the rear wheel. Reports also described the system working together with specialized brake ducts, custom-forged magnesium wheels, and internal air channels inside carbon fiber brake baskets. That combination matters, because the rim is not working alone. It is part of a thermal environment. The brakes produce enormous heat. That heat can radiate through nearby components and affect the tire from the inside. The wheel rim sits right in the middle of that battle. If Ferrari can influence how air moves around the rim, how heat escapes, and how much brake heat reaches the tire carcass, then they can change the tire's behavior over a stint. And that can change a race. Think of it like trying to keep a drink cold on a hot day. The ice matters. The cup matters. The air around it matters. If the cup traps heat, the drink warms faster. If the cup helps move heat away, the drink stays colder for longer. Ferrari's rear rim may be doing the racing version of that. The tire is still under stress. The brakes are still hot. The track is still punishing. But the system may slow the heat transfer into the tire, helping keep the rear in a better window for longer. That is the part rivals are trying to understand, because the visible rim is only one piece. A rival can photograph the shape and still miss the effect. They can copy the vent pattern and still fail to create the same airflow. They can cool the wrong area at the wrong rate and end up with a tire that is too cold instead of protected. They can change the rim, but not match how it works with the brake duct, the basket, the wheel material, and the overall car balance. That is why Ferrari's system is so difficult to decode. It is not just a rim, it is the interaction around the rim. And in Formula One, interactions are where the real secrets live. A single part can look simple, but its effect depends on everything around it. The airflow path, the brake temperature, the magnesium surface, the tire pressure, the stint length, the track temperature, the driver's style, the way the rear axle is loaded through a long corner. Ferrari may have found a way to connect all of that into one thermal advantage, and the numbers explain why this matters. Pirelli's own comments pointed to major differences in how teams are stabilizing tire temperatures and pressures. Some teams are running higher, some are running lower. The gap between approaches can have a big impact. The most important figure is the possible rear tire carcass temperature reduction, around 15 degrees Celsius. That is huge, and it is linked to roughly 1.5 pounds per square inch of pressure effect. For a casual fan, that may sound minor. For a Formula One engineer, it can be a race-changing difference. Tire pressure affects the shape of the contact patch. Temperature affects grip and degradation. Together, they decide whether the driver can attack or has to protect the car. So if Ferrari can keep the rear carcass cooler at a circuit like Barcelona, the entire race becomes easier. Hamilton can push longer. The rear tires stay alive. The strategy becomes more flexible. The car stays balanced when others begin to fade. And suddenly, a rim nobody was supposed to notice becomes one of the most important parts of a weekend. That is why rivals cannot ignore it. But they also cannot simply call it illegal and move on. That is the legal trap. The regulations restrict features intended to influence the heat transfer characteristics of the wheel rim. In simple terms, teams are not supposed to turn the rim into a forbidden tire heating or cooling tool. The rules also control wheel materials, dimensions, thickness, and certain air passage concepts designed to stop teams from using blown air cooling tricks. So why has Ferrari not been stopped immediately? Because intent is hard to prove. Ferrari can argue that its rim geometry is legal. They can say the design fits within permitted parameters. They can say every wheel rim influences heat in some way, and any cooling effect is simply a natural result of optimizing a legal structure. Rivals can look at the same part and say, come on, the purpose is obvious. If the vents, the ring, and the airflow behavior help cool the tire, then what else is it for? That is the gray area. And gray areas are where Formula One becomes ruthless. Because if a concept is clearly illegal, it can be banned. If it is clearly legal, everyone copies it. But if it sits in the middle, teams begin fighting on two fronts. They try to understand the idea technically, while also pressuring the governing body politically. That is exactly what appears to be happening here. The governing body is monitoring tire rim development. It does not want an unnecessary spending war. It does not want teams taking the concept to extremes. It does not want rims becoming tools to cool down or heat up tires in aggressive ways. But according to the source, there has been no immediate fresh restriction yet. That means Ferrari's window remains open, for now. And that is what makes this moment so dangerous for the rest of the grid. Because if Ferrari have found the best early version of a concept, rivals are already behind. Red Bull were reportedly preparing their own updated rim design as early as Austria, which tells you the paddock sees real performance here. Teams do not rush to copy ideas they believe are meaningless. They copy things that scare them, and Ferrari's rear rim has scared them enough to move. But copying will not be instant. That is the key. A rival team cannot simply look at the wheel and reproduce the result in a week. The rim must work with the rest of the car. It must be approved. It must not cross the heat transfer rule. It must match the brake duct philosophy. It must manage the tire without creating a new problem. That is why Ferrari may have bought themselves time. And in a championship fight, time is performance. One race where rivals cannot copy you is valuable. 2 races are even better. If the concept works at multiple tire-limited circuits before others catch up, the points can change quickly. That is why Barcelona mattered so much. Ferrari did not unveil this idea in a meaningless situation. They did it when Hamilton desperately needed a win to keep the title fight alive. They did it at a circuit where tire degradation was expected to decide everything. They did it when Mercedes were leading, Antonelli had the championship advantage, and Ferrari needed proof that their season was not slipping away. Then Hamilton won. That timing made the rim impossible to ignore. If Ferrari had finished 5th, nobody would be talking about the wheel this way. But a hidden thermal concept followed by a historic Hamilton victory creates a story nobody in the paddock can leave alone. And this is where the tension grows, because Ferrari's own public response has been measured. Fred Vasseur did not claim a miracle breakthrough. He warned that one good weekend does not mean Ferrari will blow everyone away every weekend. He pointed to extreme conditions and suggested Austria would be more average. That is smart. Ferrari do not want the rim to become the whole explanation. If everyone believes the rear rim is the magic part, then every rival and every regulator focuses on it. Ferrari want credit for the full package, the car, the setup, the driver, the conditions, and the execution. They do not want the story reduced to a hidden wheel trick that can be copied or restricted. But the silence around the specific claims keeps the suspicion alive. Ferrari have not publicly confirmed or denied the exact BBS rim upgrade theory. The governing body and the supplier have also declined official comment on the specific thermal management claims. That silence does not prove wrongdoing, but it does give the paddock room to keep asking questions.